Hi everybody, this is Ryan Motter here, taking some questions from some of you guys. I am going in order of who asked me the first questions. I know there are a lot of them, so bear with me. I got a really good question about if I worry about chemicals in food. And my short answer is no, but I'm mindful of them. I'm aware of them, I understand them. I understand the populations that are more exposed to them. I think we go a little too crazy in this stuff, and I've always said if you worry too much about the chemicals in your food, you would live in Alaska in a bubble. Everybody says, "I wish I knew as much as you did, Ryan." No, you don't. If you knew what I do, it's a blessing and a curse. It's great to understand and be aware of all these things, but you question every single thing you consume. Take fish for example. I think fish is just so good for people as a whole, and I have people all the time, well, I'm not eating that because of mercury content. And does that exist? Sure, and more to the predator fish that consume the smaller fish, which down the chain of line of that fish consume this fish and vice versa. Shark and swordfish, the ones that have the higher mercury contaminants. And it does exist. Now, because of that, am I not, I get these people, I'm not eating that fish. And they're extremely overweight and eating a Snickers bar. Well, which is the lesser of the two evils? And that's always why I say that's what makes exercise so incredibly important, is that we have a high efficient detoxifying system. And not only that, as a whole, exercise is king and nutrition is queen, but we do have to understand the susceptibilities, like childbearing women, or Native Americans, or African Americans have more susceptibility to different foods and exposure. So we need to be understanding of these things and at least monitor. And I'd be allowed to say there aren't different people who I've seen more repetitive exposures to have some negative results. You can find the same thing in anything you eat. Chemicals are everywhere. I personally am not as concerned of chemicals in my food as I am about chemicals in the environment, dioxins and all these other pollutants that are around. I'll never forget my one friend who was, he was total chemical free, and I even went through a phase of this too, so he had no Teflon pans, cast iron. He's just doing all these things, Himalayan salt blocks. He's doing no chemicals, and he said he got that sick. He was that mad. He went to Pittsburgh on a trip. He ate a cheeseburger and a beer. He said it was the best he ever felt in his life. And I believe that. I believe we adapt to different things, and be it good or bad, we reproduce these natural antibodies against some of and defenses of these chemicals. But chemicals they're everywhere. If you're worried about chemicals, you wouldn't be in your house, you wouldn't be in your car, you wouldn't go to work. There's even instances if you live in LA, you wouldn't even step outside. So we're aware of these things, but we don't not eat different things because. But don't get me wrong, I don't think we should eat tuna every single day. That being said, I do think there are people who don't like other things that maybe can, but I am a big believer in exposing yourself to different varieties of food so you don't have an overabundance of repetitive mercury, PCBs, dioxins, DDT, pesticides, insecticides. There's so many different things out there that have shown some high association of negative effects on us. And I know I'll never forget the one Apple study. This is an unfortunate thing. You didn't call it conspiracy theorists, which I'm not, but there's kind of this crazy story with someplace don't quote me, I haven't read this study in a while, but it was a big, huge study that was published on, I think it was apples. Apples or oranges, and there's this new pesticide or insecticide they were trying, and it was mass-produced food, and they showed the association was insane of how much negative effects they were having, I think, on renal, so kidney failure of this pesticide. And pretty much the government came in and told the people to shut it down because it was so much of an economic problem that they manipulated the study. And the head professor or the head researcher that was on this, I came back 5 years later or something, and came out like, look, they told me to do this. This isn't right. He knew it was possibly hurting people. So does that stuff exist? Yeah, sure. That's why I hunt. That's why I go fishing. But again, I could say the fish, drink pollutant waters. It's crazy. Like even the stock fish you see, are white, and you put them in the stream and they adapt to the aquatic life, and you'll literally see their meat change and they taste different. So yeah, chemicals, they exist. The same thing with apples. Mineral depletion. Mineral depletion is everywhere. You know, do I believe, you know, getting stuff at Walmart that's been mass produced and the soil and the crop's been depleted? Does that exist? Yeah, I mean, so are some instances where I tell people, you know, maybe a multivitamin would make sense if you're, you know, if you're only getting your apples from a mass-produced place that doesn't have all the nutrients. You know, we're eating this apple thinking there's X amount of vitamin B, C, and there's nothing there. It's just a mass. Does that exist? It sure. Unfortunately, it does. I wish it didn't. So, and that's what makes people question what they're eating. You know, same with meat. That's a whole other thing with the antibiotics in it and the hormones. It's unfortunate, but we do the best we can. We're aware of it. I'd rather eat an apple that's depleted rather than a Snickers bar or a piece of cake, but be mindful of it. And if you have negative effects, think of pollutants that could be causing that. But as a whole, I don't worry about it that much. I'm aware of it. I understand it. So thanks for the question, guys.